This video is brought to you by Evolve. Hunt together, kill alone. Choose your side in stores now. Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be talking about the mechanic class in Battlefield Hardline, specifically because this class has changed so much from previous Battlefield games. This would otherwise be known as the engineer class in militaristic Battlefield games. Now, because Hardline has shifted its focus from heavily armored vehicles to light armored vehicles, there wasn't as much of a need for rocket launchers and heavy anti-vehicle weapons for any one class. Thus, the mechanic class had to change up a bit. Let's take a look at the new gadgets that are going to make this class an essential component to any organized squad. Now, of course, we have the grenade launcher and repair tool, which are essentials for any vehicle-oriented map. You should be running those on most vehicle maps. They're probably going to come in handy. But what if we want to play more of an infantry-focused map, like Heist on Bank Job? This is where I've come up with what I call the brawler mechanic. I grab the satellite phone and the armored insert. I place the satellite phone down somewhere in the bank. There's plenty of rooms. Usually I can find a place to put it where it really doesn't get found for most of the round. It allows my whole squad to spawn in, and it allows me to be really aggressive with a close by spawn location just in case I die right off the bat. Then it's time to get up close and personal. The mechanic has some of the best close quarter guns in the game, specifically the K10, also known as the Chris Vector in real life. This gun does more damage than any other gun in the game, 34 damage maximum with a 1200 round per minute rate of fire. The damage at range is terrible, the accuracy at range is terrible, but for close quarter to close medium range, it is an absolute beast and you don't want to run into this. Now, if somebody's also running an armored insert, this reduces chest damage by 50%. So if somebody shoots me in the chest with a gun that normally does 25 damage, I'm only going to be taking 12.5 damage from each of those shots. This is crazy, and it allows you to survive a lot longer in close quarters. Obviously, good players will aim for the head, in which case you don't have any damage reduction, but the more novice players or the shotgun players will not be able to down you quite as fast as they thought they could. So let's consolidate what this class is. It has the best damage reduction out of any class in the game, and it has some of the most powerful close quarter weapons in the game. So you can get up close and personal. You don't have to worry about dying as much because you've got a spawn beacon close by, and you can just run in there and brawl. Although the K10 only has a 25 round magazine, it does have the fastest reload in the game of 1.5 seconds. So you're going to be able to get in there, get a kill or two per mag, and then reload very quickly, get back in the action. In addition to that, you have some truly epic sidearms. You get the 44 Magnum, which everybody loves, and you also get the 357 RS. This is very similar to the Magnum in many ways, except instead of having 6 shots, it has 8 shots, and it even does more damage. It sacrifices a little bit of damage at extreme ranges, but in close quarters, this thing is a beast. Now, unfortunately, the starting handgun for this class is the 38 snub, and it is just a piece of junk. It's probably the worst pistol in the game, so buy an upgrade pistol as soon as possible. And then, of course, we have the Jury, which is a shotgun pistol. I haven't actually used it yet, but I can only imagine how effective it's going to be in CQB. Now, if you also start catering this class to its reputation upgrades, you can come up with some interesting combos as well. The first level of reputation makes you choose between a flak jacket or an extra grenade. Defensively, I'll usually go with the flak jacket. Offensively, I'll usually pick an extra nade, whether it's a M67, a flashbang, smoke, whatever I want. Now, the second tier upgrade isn't quite as good because it's making me choose between grenade launcher and fast repair, two things that I'm not actually using in my brawler class. It would be kind of nice if they switched one of those out with fast aim to balance out the tier upgrade system a little bit better. Now, the starting off gun with the mechanic is the MP5K, and that also does 34 maximum, so this is a very good starting gun as well. It's not quite as good as the K10 or something like, say, the P90, but then again, it's going to take you a little while to get the cash for those two weapons. Now, the K10 is of course only for the police, and the criminals have the P90 instead. The P90, in my opinion, is not quite as good as the K10, but if you get 300 kills with the K10, you can unlock it for the criminal side. Now, unfortunately, the criminals get gypped on terms of the guns that they get to upgrade to in the start, because they get the Uzi and the M-45. Both of these are fairly low damage output weapons compared to the ones that the police side gets. I'd recommend upgrading to the P90, putting a suppressor on there and calling it good until you can actually upgrade the K10 to switch it over to the criminal side as well. Now, briefly looking at the mechanics application to vehicle intensive game modes, it's pretty obvious where they come in. You've got the grenade launcher, which is excellent for disabling and destroying enemy vehicles. This is just a must-have for pretty much taking out cars. Although I will say a good assault rifle or powerful weapon that just shoots bullets is pretty good at taking out not only the drivers of vehicles but the vehicles themselves. And of course, the repair tool torch. Although it's not quite as useful as it has been in previous Battlefield games, I will say one of my favorite things to do in hotwire mode is to get in the passenger of a vehicle, grab my grenade launcher, repair torch, and I can basically keep that vehicle up a lot longer and use that grenade launcher to quickly disable pursuing vehicles. Now, as much as I like the new mechanic class, I will say its primary weapons are very limited to pretty much only close quarter primary weapons. Even the Enforcer class gets shotguns, and then it also gets stuff like the Scar H, which can be used at further ranges and fairly effectively as well. It would be nice to have a little bit more variety to the weapons available to the mechanic, especially considering that a lot of the vehicle intensive maps where you're going to want to play the mechanic the most have big wide open spaces where the mechanic's primary weapons are pretty much garbage. So just having a few options for longer range weapons would be nice. Overall, I really like the direction that the mechanic class is going, giving you a really good option for infantry only combat. You don't have to use a grenade launcher, you don't have to use a repair torch. You can just throw on that body armor, use a spawn beacon, and all of a sudden you're an excellent infantry fighter. However, I think a lot of the weapons are not very well balanced, and there's just a few that just stand so high above the rest that there isn't much point in using a lot of the original guns. So within the engineer class, I think a lot of the PDWs need to be balanced accordingly with each other. For example, the K10 is just so much better than anything else the engineer has available. But outside of the engineer class, I think guns like the K10 are so much better than assault rifles within that extreme close quarter range. Beyond that, obviously you'd want a different weapon. So ultimately, we really are going to have to start looking at the mechanic class in a whole different light. There's a lot of infantry focused maps in Battlefield Hardline, and the mechanic class is actually quite good in those maps now. So he's got some cool benefits that he didn't have in BF3 and BF4. Also, he's not quite as vehicle focused as he once was, or at least he has a bit of a dichotomy to his playstyle. It's not just vehicle support, it can be this awesome infantry support class. Ultimately, I could see the mechanic being one of my favorite close quarter infantry map classes, provided that they balance out the rest of the PDWs. Otherwise, I'm just going to be using the K10. There's really no point in using anything else. Also, it would be cool if they did add, say, DMRs to the mechanic class as like one of their long range options, and maybe give the professional class some PDWs to try and balance it out. Give them a few more weapon options. I think that would make this class much more effective on those bigger, wide open vehicle oriented maps. I think the ultimate test for this class will be when the actual game comes out and we see just how many maps cater to this extremely close quarter infantry playstyle. I think we're actually going to get quite a few more maps that have this kind of CQB combat, so I wouldn't be surprised if the mechanic was actually one of the more popular classes to play, especially with that spawn beacon now. Anyway, that pretty much wraps it up for this mechanic class video. What do you guys think about this new class? Do you think it fits in well with the fact that there's no heavy armor on Battlefield Hardline? Do you think it's now a valuable infantry class? As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.